Today, we're going to start the Main Street. Alright everybody, welcome to episode 7 of HARUNA. And today, like I said, we're going to be working on the train station. Now, despite playing Planet Coaster for like 8 years since the alpha even, so before the game even officially came out, I have yet to ever use the train or the monorail or anything like that in this game, funnily enough. So it was pretty exciting to finally get to use this. Like, I don't know, I think in building my previous parks, I never really tried to make like a full park complete with every attraction that a major theme park would have, such as transport rides like this. I generally just focused on the roller coasters because that's what I love to do, so I wasn't really too big on the whole entire theme park thing. So I guess if we want to really consider it this way, this Haruna is probably my first like proper theme park in which I'm trying like sort of my hardest to actually, make it as realistic as I can. So having a first like this on a game that's this old, 8 years old, it keeps it exciting, I guess. Like, for instance, I didn't realize how freaking enormous this station was. I mean, I had to make a ginormous building for this train station just because the platform is huge, and you can't make it smaller unless you want to have a tiny train with only one passenger car. So I wanted minimum 4 cars, so I got this train station here. I think it ended up being 10 blocks long, and then I made roof overhangs, so it ended up being 11 tiles long. So just a long rectangular building. I try to make it a little less boxy by adding a little front area so it juts out in the middle a little bit, but it's still just a long rectangle. So you'll see me with the majority of the beginning of this video just fighting or trying to fight that sort of rectangle look in the building. So yeah, like I said, first time making a train, pretty exciting. Honestly, I didn't know what I wanted to do with this area, so I just sunk the ground in and just let my kind of imagination just take me on a ride. No pun intended. Because I never, like I said, I've never done like a proper Main Street in a way like this. So that's why my Main Street, you're seeing you will see anyway, that it doesn't look like a main street. There aren't buildings everywhere, but there is a large sea of path, and that was one feature that I did actually make because I felt like that was absolutely necessary for the main street. But aside from that, the bunch of rides aren't exactly visible, and there aren't buildings like surrounding every border of the path. And who knows, maybe I'll add things into the middle of the path, and like arcade games or retro, like those like fair, state fair type of games that not Cedar Fair. I guess it is Cedar Fair. Well, I mean Six Flags, but I guess they're the same thing now. But that Six Flags sometimes has in the middle of their parks, they'll just have like those old type of games, like you try to shoot the basketball into the really unfairly shaped hoop, the midway games, is that what it's called? And basically it's like a really hard 3-pointer you're supposed to make, and if you make like a certain number of those, you get a free jersey. So stuff like that. Maybe I'll add that depending if my park needs more charm, which I think it will. But I think you'll see in this little area right here, there's plenty of charm, despite it being super, I guess, clean and neat and well maintained. So not that those are opposites, but there's definitely some charm here, I think. So I think trying to avoid that sort of like American style theme park type of building mindset I think I'm gonna have to get increasingly more creative with how I approach different areas of the park. So, one of the main things that I decided I needed to do in this was sync everything going, or everything that is going to be on the main street down. So it's going to be a sort of terraced main street. So there'll be the left side that it's up higher, and then there'll be the actual main street, and then the right side will be sort of below the main street, and there will be stairs and pathways to get down to the rides. And in doing so, it allows all the sight lines to be kept, because I like my big entrance building, and I like the big majestic mountain that's right across from the entrance building, and I don't want either of those sight lines to be broken by anything I make. So by sinking everything in the ground, it kind of alleviates and kind of navigates us through that sort of problem. So yeah, like I said, I'm making lots of tunnels, and in addition to tunnels, you'll have to have bridges. So right now I made this this railway system. It's going off to the right side of the park. You see like the kind of path that's like making a grid on the other side of this train station here. That was originally going to be like a small Japanese village area. That was the original intent of this park. If you look at the bottom left of the screen, for example, it says HARUNA Village, not just HARUNA. The HARUNA Village, there is going to be a small village. So that's the lore. So now you know. So I'm not entirely sure how I was going to make that work. I think there's going to be a bunch of small houses, and then there'd be like shops in each of the houses. So it'd be like a faux village, but in reality, it's like a proper theme park still. I think that was the whole idea there. But yeah, I don't know if we're going to end up going with that. We'll see when we get to that area of the park. So now we're trying to make everything fit and look cozy in here. So making these staircases up. And here's another thing I just added. So this completely was not intentional from the very beginning, but the more I thought about it, I was like, this makes perfect sense. So let's pretend I thought of this the whole time, which is these large water basins being storage for the rainwater or the runoff from higher in the mountain. So you see me add these little pipes, like the one right, I guess I can't say right there because it's in times 24 speed. So yeah, actually for this video, I increased it by, increased it from times 22 to times 24, just because I feel like the videos were a bit longer. So I wanted to condense them to even shorter. So I know I do move my camera around a lot, so increasing the speed does put us at risk of making the video like completely unwatchable because it's so frantic and fast. So I hope this isn't too much worse, because it saves a few minutes, and I don't think it's that much noticeably different than the regular times 22 speed. So let me know if you notice anything different. I'll try to keep an eye out for that. So yeah, as I was saying, these large water basins that I've been making, they're sort of, well, they are basins now. I've added a bunch of runoff pipes and a bunch of drains, which you'll see probably later. I just took the pole piece, flipped it upside down, and the bottom of it kind of looks like a drain. And I don't know if you remember from episode 3, the pool episode. Yeah, the episode that I made the pool in, I used that same technique to make the drains in the pool. So I took that drain piece, a pseudo drain piece anyway, and I threw a bunch evenly spaced in the park. This is where it is right here. So you see I'm placing those things, and then now we're adding drain pipes. So I have two main basins. One is that ginormous one right in front of the main staircase right here, and then the other basin is the smaller one right in front of the Italian garden with the little hedge maze. So the main basin handles all of the runoff water from the entrance and not the resort, but the hotel area, the upper pathways, and then everything else in that part of the mountain. All of the water, it gets is it like irrigation maybe? Yeah. So it gets I guess it gets piped down the mountain into that big basin, and then from the main basin it goes into this little area right here. So that's why there's this small creek. And then there's future plans to make this creek then go off into the main river. The main river that splits the map into. So I think that is somewhat realistic, I'd say. Having lots of water flow and ways to prevent flooding in a park like this. So yeah, and then the other water basin by the garden that controls all the water runoff from the pool area and the vineyard. So that's that taken care of. And next we're moving on to the flat ride here. So I went with the Venetian Carousel. I think it's very fitting, Venetian, Venice, Italy. It just makes sense. It just fits perfectly. It's classy. It doesn't look out of place, and it's a ride that, well, it would exist here probably. So yeah, I'm placing my drains. This is what I was talking about. The entire upper mountain area, all the runoff, that flat ride up there, all that runoff goes straight into this little creek here. But yeah, so there's the flat ride that we're working on, the Venetian Carousel. Actually, I just came up with the name of it right now, which I forgot, so I'm going to look it up. Yeah, it's called Cloacina, Cloacina, and I will put the logo that AI generated for me up right here. This is the logo that I made, and I went with this name because it is apparently a Roman god, a goddess of the Cloaca Maxima, which is the sewer system of Rome. Kind of fitting, right? So the sewer system goddess that's the name of this flat ride, and this is technically the sewer system of HARUNA. So now I think at the beginning of next episode I will make a ride sign for this, and place it somewhere that looks nice, probably in this big planter right here. So yeah, you can tell my sort of strategy for building here is literally just spam planters and stone walls, and it will look nice. And for the most part it works, so I'm not complaining. It's easy for me. It's kind of like Legos in a sense, just putting pieces and trying to fit them in. So yeah, just building the infrastructure, the paths that for sure you want, and then just cleaning it up, putting walls down and closing off the open edges to make things look believable and solid, because in reality everything's just floating and looking a bit ridiculous. So it's now something I kind of wanted to talk about a little bit. So I know these longer videos are but they're a lot harder to digest, and I mean, I'm not that good at commentary. I literally just started, so it's really hard for me to keep up vocal inflections and try to keep things interesting as I talk about what I'm building. So all of that being said, I'm noticing my videos are getting a bit longer as well because I'm just packing so much content into what I'm doing, whether it takes me way too long to build these things or I'm doing a lot more per episode. Basically, I'm just wanting to get a lot more done in each episode so I can not necessarily make fewer episodes, but have the episodes kind of, be more meaningful in a sense, to where like, oh, you're seeing this much get done in this episode, and it's like a whole area that is now complete from that one episode. So that's my current goal with this, and the side effect of that is unfortunately longer episodes, or fortunately, depending on how interesting you find these and how much better my commentary can get and how much better I can get at speaking. So a little bit about me personally. I'm not that loud of a guy. Like, I don't talk that often, or not that I don't talk that often. I'm not very loud. I'm very soft-spoken, I suppose. So doing something like this is super out of my comfort zone, and I don't know if you can hear, but I'm trying to increase my volume and add inflections and sound more interesting when I talk, and I'm low-key, high-key running out of breath. It's kind of getting exhausting. So breath management and being able to just talk like this is a skill that I'm actively working on right now. So thank you guys for bearing with me with this. And yeah. Right. Now on to the video again. Now I'm making this wall around the carousel in a similar way that I did the main water retention basin at the bottom of the staircase. It's got these faux sidewalks and a wall and a fence that makes it look like it's a very clean and closed off area, when in fact people can't even walk there. But there's enough path for them. They don't need to walk there anyway. It's just for looks. So yep, just closing off the area, putting all the pieces I made together like Legos, like I said earlier. I ended up being very proud of this area by the end of this. So definitely stick tuned to see the finish, or stick tuned. Wow. Definitely stay tuned to see the finished result, because there's this point, I think, in the video, I think you'll be able to see it, where I place one tree, and then that one tree just it just fills in the gap perfectly, and it just makes everything look so good together. And then I'm like, oh man, this is it. This is the one right here. So, I had no idea what I was doing at all when I made this area. I just knew I wanted to keep the sight lines, so I sunk things into the ground and then just made it work after that, and I think it works. So going forward with the rest of this Main Street area of the park, I think that is going to be my recipe for success. We're just going to sink things into the ground, make I guess elevation intrigue, if that's what you can call it, and put planters everywhere because planters look so good. I don't even know when they got added to the game. I'm gonna be completely honest. They weren't there when I stopped playing. So sometime after 2018, I think, they added the planters, and I'm gonna place them everywhere shamelessly, Right, so now we're cleaning off the area behind the carousel, and I noticed the wall back here was looking a bit repetitive, so I went ahead and made a new variant of it, changing it. And this is on both sides of this wall. So you'll see the other side, it's got this brick where it's a little darker, and the fence on the top is changed, and then the colors are kind of swapped. And I think that variation just makes it fit better, because it's more, I guess, visually interesting to look at. It's not just the same thing that's super busy, copy and pasted. And I know those generic Planet Coaster themed fences, they're a little bit fancier, so they're kind of hard to look at, a bunch of them. So that's why I broke that up and just put these I guess these are the generic ones, actually, the ones without the Planet Coaster logo. So yeah, now I'm adding a few planters onto the Main Street area and some benches. Honestly, adding the benches and the bins and the lights kind of just made this area just completely pop. Like it just, and the planters, I'll add some planters here shortly, and it just looks really good. To me anyway. I hope it looks good to you guys too, because I'm very proud of this area. So yeah, that all being said, now we are, oh, this is probably my favorite part. So I think earlier you see at the top of this little hill, I added that brown building. That's a restaurant, so it's a very dark building. So I wanted to make another dark building so it doesn't look like it's just one dark building in a sea of very tan and light bright buildings. So here's another dark structure. This one is sort of a covered bridge, and you know, this one, it was a bit of a artistic liberty, I'd say. Oh, first of all, I wanted to say that nothing in this video was like kind of inspired by anything that I saw online. This was me just kind of freestyling, I guess. So apart from like looking at actual theme parks and stuff, so I guess I got some inspiration there. I think there's a few places in Kings Island that look like this. They don't look like this, but they've got like covered walkways like this. Same with Six Flags Great America. So this is where that charm is that I was talking about earlier, where I feel like something like this just adds like a lot of character to the park, because it feels like a park when you see something like this versus these big stone buildings. Like you could be at a museum, you know, you could be in Vatican City for all you know, with the other area of the park, but here it actually feels like a theme park with that little covered area thing. So super happy with how that turned out. And yeah, now we're getting to the meat and potatoes of this episode. My favorite part, the landscaping. Well, I guess I kind of did landscape the entire video, so that's technically not true because we have been landscaping the whole time, but now we're actually landscaping. So and what I mean by that is placing the trees and the rocks, because that's what I do here. That's what I'm known for now. That's my thing. Trees and rocks. Love it. Can't get enough of them. and planters. Don't forget the planters. Alright, so, oh yeah, speaking of, another thing I wanted to talk about, so in the last episode I brought up how I noticed my game was a bit blurry, and I thought that was due to me updating the driver, but it turns out that is not the case, or that was not the case. Embarrassingly enough, the reason my game was blurry was because of my monitor. So my monitor is by no means a cheap monitor, right? Let me see. I have an Aorus Gigabyte Aorus FI227Q, which is a 27-inch 1440p monitor that does 165 hertz, and it's on this adjustable magnetic electronic stand. It's got all these modes and settings and whatnot. So like I said, by no means cheap monitor, right? It's very nice and very well, I love it. I love it to death. So I never suspected this monitor was the issue, but apparently I kind of clicked on a setting that changed the mode that the monitor was rendering in. So it was on FPS mode, which I guess I had it on that for playing Valorant, I guess, because I got really into Valorant at some point. So I had an FPS mode, and apparently that changes how the game renders certain levels of details and objects. And it makes sense, right? If you're playing an FPS, you don't want to be fully loading in the trees and the flowers on the mountain in the background when you're trying to shoot your enemies that are right in front of you. You know, so it totally makes sense that it wouldn't load those. So, but I didn't realize the monitor could actually control this, so I was super confused. And then when I switched it back to the normal mode, everything was super crisp, and like it felt like when you get a new prescription, right, that fits your eyesight after it's gotten a little worse. That's how the game felt after I switched the setting. I was like, man, this is crazy. So luckily that's all resolved. I did revert the driver back to the previous one, and then I updated again, and it's working fine. So I confirmed that it is in fact the monitor, and everything's going good. So that's all taken care of. Enough about that. The video is wrapping up here. Right now we are just doing the finishing touches, making some new lamps and lighting. We're gonna make a new lamp pretty soon here that I paste everywhere, that ends up looking really nice. And oh yeah, and I make these new ride wait signs, and I place them at all the rides in my park because I think having them all look cohesive is a good move. Right, so now we're making this lamp right here. I might change the colors later, but I think right now it's fine. And I love the atmosphere it brings. It's just very kind of rustic, and this is kind of speaking to the charm I was talking about earlier, when I can just plop these everywhere and it kind of feels like a theme park. And it's not too opulent feeling, but at the same time it looks pretty fancy, so it's got like, the best of both worlds. So yeah, enough about lighting. Kind of experiment with the path here, but that's for the next episode, where I'm probably going to add another flat ride. So stay tuned for that. That'll be out soon. Really enjoying this series, guys. Trying to pump these episodes out as fast as I can for you guys, so please leave a like if you're enjoying this series. And drop a subscribe, so you know when you can get notified when the next video is out, because it'll be out soon, and I'll be waiting for you. Alright, so yeah, finishing touches, adding these lights, trying to figure out how I'm going to light the station, because I never made a station or a building this long. But in any case, that's the rest of the video. I'm out. Peace out, guys. Have a good one. Bye.